Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today. Welcome to filmandtvreview.com. Catch the latest film, TV and streamed show reviews every week. The views and opinions expressed by the authors and those providing comments are theirs alone. They do not reflect the views, opinions or position of filmandtvreview.com or their respective parent companies or affiliates. Filmandtvreview.com makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information in this program and is for entertainment purposes only. Episodes may contain adult humor and language. For full terms and conditions, see filmandtvreview.com.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Film and TV Review, and this is our monthly review of what our releases on cinema and streaming in the last month or so. So I'm joined by our regulars, Alfonso and Richard, and there's been quite a few releases this month. So we'll start. I will be talking about Fallout, Godzilla, X-Con, Civil War, Roadhouse, Shogun, Rebel Moon, Challengers, Fall Guy, and Baby Reindeer. So hello there, and welcome both of you. We'll start out with certainly a series on Prime, which I was getting a great reviews, and actually I found it probably one of the most bingeable series I've come across in recent years. Fallout, of course, based on a video game, which we have a good track record now. We're in the era of good track records, I guess, if we're judging The Last of Us by anything. But Richard, Alfonso, I think you both saw this. Were you surprised how good it was? This is
I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I was surprised by the tone, that it was a little bit like funny, not so serious, because Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Nolan, I think. No, I don't know. Well, it's his wife, and they are quite serious. For example, in Westworld, their previous series, or in The Peripheral, which was also on Prime. And this maybe because it comes from a video game company and they already had a tone established. This was colorful. It was serious, but also had like the action didn't take itself so seriously, and I kind of enjoyed that. Let's say that less serious tone than other series that they have done previously, and it was always all that they do is it has a good production quality. So
yeah, I mean it's 8 episodes. You can go through it so fast because you've got the whole kind of premise of a post-apocalyptic landscape 200 years afterwards, and then people emerging from a vault and how they interact with a different society with what's been happening on the surface. So it does lend itself to quite a comic background landscape, as in characters and all that. But Richard, did you equally surprised that this was good, or did you finish it as fast as I did?
Yeah, surprised not really, because the reason I wasn't much surprised is because the original material I knew was like one of the best video game franchise, etc. And they knew actually that they chose wisely. I mean, what I mean is that fortunately, Hollywood or the big studios nowadays are choosing the right video games to adapt. Sometimes actually you think, why do you adapt something like that? There is nothing much to adapt. Here, Fallout has a very interesting mythology, a very interesting. You can do whatever, well, not whatever you want, but you can definitely do a lot of world building and do a lot of stories that are kind of inspired by the video game and do your own stuff, which is what happened with the choice made by Jonathan Nolan. Actually, that he has as a consultant the video game whatever producer whatever, but he did something quite original in that universe, and you choosing Fallout as like your background, Fallout universe background, to create a original story with just kind of Easter eggs here and there. I thought that's what I'm saying. Knowing that before getting in, I thought, okay, let's. I think it can only be at least decent, and it was more than decent. It was, as you said, it is definitely binge watching worthy, whatever that word is exists or not, because the way it was written, it had two very well done things, which is the character development of the three main characters. I think it's really well done for the three main characters that we're gonna talk about, and also, as I said, something that is not really talked about in the video games is the origins of the world of Fallout through flashbacks of one of the three characters, and this actually was maybe the most interesting part, in my opinion, because thanks to actually, so is it Walter or Walton Goggins, the name of the actor? Walton Goggins, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the cowboy. Well, the ghoul is that
Yeah, the ghoul slash human, yeah. And so he's the one of the three main characters, and I think it was very smart to create such a character to help us understand how this world was created, because he's the only, or maybe only, of the two characters who exist in the two timelines of the show. So one is set in the 21st century, and one is set on at the end of the 21st century, and in an alternative Earth, whatever. And in 21st century, he lives in this wasteland that you mentioned, post-apocalyptic era, where what's the namesake of the TV show, where actually people are either surviving in vaults, in bunkers, or on Earth, what is left of Earth after a nuclear war. And he lives as a kind of a mutant ghoul. And before that, 200 years before, he was there. He was an actor back in the day in 2077, if I'm not mistaken, when there were economic tensions around the world that led to a nuclear war. And it's through his flashbacks that we know more about this world. And I thought actually that his acting was pretty great, to be honest. Yeah. And also,
there is some people on Twitter saying, I get why women are attracted to the ghoul on Fallout.
No, but he has charisma. He has charisma, even as a. But yeah, no, the CGI of even the first. I mean, that's not a spoiler because again, that's the name of the show. But the first sequence of the show, like the first 5 minutes, which is literally a nuclear explosion in a city that looks like a standard American city, is pretty well done. I mean, it's really well done because it gets you into the feeling of what's going to be the 8 episodes, and it's But
Yeah, great.
and that's only one of the characters. I mean, there are two other characters. One played by Ellen Purnell, who is maybe the most
Lucy.
famous character because she's on all the posters, and one of the others who is, for me, is the other third one uh, is like is kind of a ripoff from Star Wars, John Boyega Stormtrooper. But,
Oh yeah, I see. I see.
it made me
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
it
one of
made
the
me think about
knights. One of the
it's kind of the
knights.
same. It's kind of the same story actually. The same story actually of a guy who actually is in the army and actually is wearing an armor, etc. And he actually changed his mind and actually tries to 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 join actually forces with actually the good guys. But anyway,
True. I must say there is a kind of like is a whole through line of satire. I mean, you made allusions to other IPs, but it is, let's say, Terminator or Star Wars. But there is a strong satirical line through all of this. So it's dark as well, and makes it unpredictable because you really don't know whether any of these characters are going to make it through to the next episode. They're quite brave. So that makes it so watchable and unpredictable because it doesn't seem to lend itself like, oh, there's no way any of these characters will disappear. But all three are quite charismatic. Lucy, the character played Lucy on posters, she was very watchable. And as you say, the person who plays the Ghoul, great use of flashback.
yeah.
Just like takes a leaf out of his books from his brother, I guess, but actually done really well, as in very informed of the whole overall arc of this story. So as in, and the revelation of the secret behind it all at the end. But it's almost self-contained, but it is hugely enjoyable and a lot of money spent, but well spent.
Yeah.
Right.
The only thing to be fair, again, to be completely honest, I didn't care much about. I mean, there are few storylines, and let's say that each of the three characters has its own motivations. They kind of all go towards the same direction, and there is something that actually is mentioned in the flashbacks and in the flashback, also in the Wastelands, is actually that they all fight for the control of resources, and whoever control resources, control energy, control some kind of electricity, let's say, controls this world. But this is kind of don't care about. I kind of don't care about this for most of the show because it's only mentioned kind of towards the really end, and you really more. I was more interested in knowing who was behind the scene controlling everyone, and we find out through the flashbacks as well. And there is also the last scene where we kind of understand that if there is a season 2, we will find out who are the people actually, if they are still the same, who are kind of running the things behind. But yeah, the whole thing about energy, etc., I thought actually that it was not really developed. But anyway.
Anyway, well, talking about money well spent and silly on the screen takes us to our cinema release, which was Godzilla Kong or Godzilla X Kong, however you want to.
Godzilla loves Kong, let's say.
maybe the X means something else.
Like kiss.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a version of that in a shop somewhere available to the adult market. But I think this a very expensive Monster Mash film. It's Godzilla and Kong together again. But like a buddy cop drama with monsters. However, this has made $500 million already. Relatively, it came out a few weeks ago, but it's already made $500 million. So it's done well. And I think it came out at the right time, probably where we didn't have much coming out. So, and you don't really, English doesn't need, or any language skills doesn't need to be particularly. It works really universally. What did you guys find? Was you excited as I was about this? It was one of the best Godzilla films of all time.
First of all, thank you for this great presentation. Yeah, I don't know what to say, to be honest. Alfonso, go ahead. If you want to talk about.
Well, I haven't watched this one, but I
I
am
don't know what
just
to say.
looking forward to your
I can
responses on
I mean,
why it's. I mean, I am sure it reinvents the wheel. This
I had a headache. I mean, it's not even a joke. I literally had a headache watching this movie and afterwards because not because it was I had like epileptic reaction or whatever, but it's just that I was thinking, Jesus Christ, and I was thinking and I was my mistake. I was trying to figure out what the hell was happening most of the time, and that was my mistake, and that's why I had a headache.
Yeah,
It was
that was your big mistake. It
well,
is something
and
that
I'm sure the
wash over.
sound was very high.
yeah, exactly.
It is something that you kind of let. It's more pictures than words in this one. This is
Oh
why,
yeah.
and I think it. I know it's just came out at the right time. I think around the Easter time, and there was again because wasn't really much on it. Take the kids there, and it's. I think it's evolving. It's showing us what the future of cinema is, and it is the big circus spectacle. It doesn't have to be a good film. It just has to relatively show you a distracting screensaver for, but it's fine. I think all the things are done well. The CG's okay, and it's nothing you can really you. There are no surprises here. It's just it delivers. If you want a hamburger, it delivers a hamburger, and there it is. So
That is actually, to be honest, if I can compare, let's compare. If I can compare with another franchise that has the same marketing plan, let's say, which is, as you said, doing a family kids movie, etc. The Transformers saga, which is kind of similar in I mean, the whole idea is similar, that no scenario, no dialogues, it's just big, not monsters, but big robots fighting each other, whatever. Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying that the Transformers movies, most of them have a better scenario than, first of all, have a better scenario than Godzilla Kong
A better
movies.
script.
And better script, thank you. And second of all, they have better CGI. This one, the Godzilla X Kong, at the end of the movie, there is obviously like all these movies end the same way. And the third act is always like huge battles everywhere. The battle in the last, I don't know, 30 minutes of that movie, as I said, it's first of all, it's the reason of a headache, but importantly, is that it literally looked like a child playing with toys, and he put a camera and he zoomed on them. Did you feel? I don't seriously. The set you felt this way already with the previous one, which was set in Hong Kong. When they were fighting, you were completely forgetting that actually that there is a city, and you forgot about the size, etc. It's just
you lose perspective of the size.
And this is so bad. At least the Transformer movies had great CGI. You cannot take that from them. They were shit, but at least they were good CGI. This one, I mean, it was terrible everywhere. I mean, there was nothing good at it. I mean, literally nothing.
So you're saying then it's better than Godzilla -1, Richard?
I mean, it's
Godzilla
plus Kong and -1, so
it is quite the converse of it, and it's quite interesting that we've had it so close together relatively. I think Godzilla -1 came out in December. It is that really did focus strangely on the human characters, which made it one of the most engaging and one of the best films of last year. Strangely enough, this one does what American versions of Godzilla do well, and it's let's not do the dialogue so heavy.
You know what? When they run, you know, in the trailer you see them running together, etc. Like we're gonna fight, etc. A third party.
Yeah.
When they run, honestly, I actually can see a guy wearing a costume of Godzilla. It's not the case, obviously, but honestly, it's so bad, the CGI, that you can think actually that we are back in the 1940s and it's a Godzilla, it's just a guy wearing a suit or something.
It is, it does bring it to a more kind of like, that two toys being played together, and you're
And
humanizing it as much as you can, strangely as it is. But
and it's also like I'm sure I haven't watched it as I said, but I'm sure there are kids in the movie that are like, oh, we gotta keep these big guys safe because they are just animals. I have a link with Kong.
Yeah.
Please save Godzilla from the
yeah,
set.
I think they're becoming the action figure heroes. This is what it's. That's what it. I don't think it hides away
Yeah,
from it.
it's
It
like
becomes.
it's like lethal weapon.
Yeah, it is like a lethal weapon. That's what it felt like. I think there was some online, some memes of of them. It's like a buddy cop drama, basically. But anyway, but it's made its money, so you can expect a lot more sequels along.
Yeah.
Where we're
Yeah,
gonna
the MonsterVerse.
the
We,
monster.
we can play a game maybe of someday actually playing of what the future titles of these movies will be. Yeah.
Well, let me see.
Well,
Godzilla X
yeah.
Kong equals what? Gamera? I don't know.
Exactly.
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next,
the civil war.
another war, but this time it's a civil war. This is a film depicting civil war is depicting the states. I think I'm guessing a little not too far in the future or present day where we have a civil war across north-south border. Richard, you saw this.
Yeah.
Is this
So
Alex Garland, by the way, or
yeah, Alex Garland, yeah, the guy among other things behind Ex Machina, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So yeah, but much more interesting than the previous movie we just talked about. So actually, when you introduce this movie, Jason, you actually, I don't know if you realize, actually, you point out actually not the issue, but actually what is for me the debate here. Is it is this movie supposed to be just a dystopia of American society, an American alternative society that Isaac created, and that's it? Or was he literally trying to show the world what the future of America can be in the next 5, 10, 15 years or whatever? And in my opinion, it doesn't actually it doesn't make the decision properly. Maybe if you ask him, maybe he's gonna say actually that he leaves the audience to answer that question by themselves. I don't know, but yeah. So in a nutshell, what it is that here, as you said, you follow actually Kirsten Dunst, who is actually a war reporter, war photograph actually, and she is with a crew going from one place in the US to another towards the Washington DC, because indeed there is a civil war between. So I think there is like three factions. Is like the Republic of US or whatever the name is, that is centered around DC, and the leader is the president of the USA. You have if I'm mistaken, California and Texas together, trying actually to create some kind of their own country, kind of trying to fight for their own independence, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. I'm not sure about this. And I think there's a first faction in Florida trying to do the same thing. Florida and some other parts of the US trying also to create their own kind of secession part or whatever. But anyway, the whole thing is that actually that the main story is that actually that everyone who wants actually to do a secession, wants to actually to cut ties with the power of Washington, are fighting and are winning against the central power of Washington. And obviously, Descendants are following the path of the secessionist and towards Washington, where she wants actually her and her crew tries actually to have the last photo and the last interview of the President of the United States. That's to sum up the story. And through during that journey, obviously they will see terrible stuff about what war really is, which is the most interesting part, actually, her work and what the consequences her work has on her and on the crew. I think that's the best part of the movie for sure, because it's very realistic. That's why the movie was here in France. Actually, it's um, forbidden for people under 12 years old because they are kind of strong scenes to watch, very realistic scenes of war and casualties, etc. And I said, and also she plays very well. She's a very good actress because you can see from the beginning of the movie until the end, you can see how it affects her morally. Just without speaking, actually, you can see actually how it affects her. And also the fact actually that there is like kind of teenager following her who wants to become a war reporter, who wants to become like her. You can see their relationship, and it's really interesting. That part for me I really liked. Now, the only thing for me said that for me it's not a masterpiece. Some people call it a masterpiece. I would not go that far because it could have been perfect if I think if it was more clear about what he wants to be, if he tries to denounce or try to show really the fear, let's say, that we can have about the future of America, if it showed us what we're all scared about for the future of America in a better way, maybe it would have been better, this movie. Because sometimes you can see sometimes some dialogues about politics, about secession, but it's always kind of a gray line. Is never. I mean, there is one scene where you can see actually what he's trying to do, but for me, it was not very clear. Anyway, I will not try to be politics in this meetup, to talk about politics. Sure. And also the second reason it's not a perfect movie is because if he wants to be a movie just about war reporters, which would be amazing because I think there should be more movies about them. I think it's not as good as a movie that I mentioned before called A Private War with Rosamund Pike, which was for me the best movie about this topic.
Do you think this would be better as a series? I also thought when it was coming out, it was actually going to be a series, but it's actually a movie. Do you think it could have been more interesting as a series, or because it's a big
again, it depends on how far and how serious it wants to be taken. Again, it depends on if you want to do a movie about the press and the reporters, or if you want to do a movie about what's going to happen in the US. Because obviously, again, not going into politics, but there is obviously a clear division in the US clearly right now in the society of the US, which is not, it's obvious. And what can happen if it goes crazy and if it's not only a division, but people actually wants to take guns in the streets, and that's actually how it can snowball quite quickly. I think you could do a series, but you would have for me to have the guts to do it properly. But anyway,
fair enough. Right. Well, from that to an equally serious film, Roadhouse came out earlier in this month. This is a remake of the Patrick Swayze original. I think a film from the 80s. Kind of a cult status. This is Jake Gyllenhaal. I think this was a Prime actually original. So it was a bit of like, well, why make a remake? But I wouldn't say this film is a remake, but it's really very simple plot. It's about a small bar that actually needs the help of I guess a bodyguard or kind of like a bouncer, we'd call it here, and that's taken in the lead role here by Jake Gyllenhaal. You saw this, Richard. It's almost very cartoony for a film. Almost like a video game. I know we were talking about video game earlier on with Fallout, but this certainly is populated by characters who do seem like video game-ish. It's I don't know. It's okay. It's surprising that you actually, spent quite a lot of money on this. I mean, you got quite a big star, but it's I think it went okay. It's hard to tell on streaming though, how many viewers you got. But what
Mm.
did you think of Roadhouse?
I,
The
I,
struggle the show is the
but
same
it's
as
not it's not that I didn't like it. It's just yeah, it's just one of those movies that you watch at 11 o'clock at night. You don't have anything else to watch, and you don't think about it after watching it. There was nothing. I mean, I don't know. I mentioned I think in the past that if there was no Jake Gyllenhaal in this movie, I think nobody would have talked about it because there is nothing extraordinary. I
Mhm.
think in this movie, yes, they good for Amazon. They hired actually a A-list actor. Um, they also had a A-list MMA
MMA,
fighter.
yeah.
Yeah, Conor McGregor, right?
Yep, Conor McGregor, who
Yeah. So
I don't think he's acting; he's just being himself.
yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, which is scary for whoever knows it because if he's like this in real life, yeah. Um, but yeah, well, yeah, again, it's the recipe, let's say, of this movie is something that you have seen 1,000 times. That's why I'm saying it's nothing that you're gonna remember after watching it. It's like a guy who is kind of lost in his life and ends up in somewhere a bit remote, and there are some people terrorizing people who are welcomed him, and he's gonna become a vigilante. He's gonna save the day, and then he's gonna move on, and it's gonna be like Lucky Luke, who is like in France. Yeah, I mean not France, a Belgian uh, uh, graphic novel, very famous actually, where you have this cowboy going from one town to another in the 19th century, the US, and he helps people, and then he walks on the sunset, and you never see him again. For me, that's Jake Gyllenhaal character. That actually he goes to that town, and that's why they can do a Roadhouse 10 or
Mm.
Roadhouse 15 in the next 15 years. Once a year, he goes to somewhere else. He fights the bad guys. He wins. He sleeps with the girl, and then he moves on. And yeah, but I mean, we've seen, as I said, 1,000 times. It works. I mean, the fight scenes are funny to watch. He's Jake Gyllenhaal. He's a good actor. What else you can say?
Yeah. Well, I did, funny enough, 11 o'clock. Then did watch the original as sheer curiosity, as in has maybe this classic, which I've never seen before, lost something in translation or why. I did watch it, and I got the same conclusion from that film as from this one. It was like you watch it and then you forget about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Only say by Patrick Swayze in the leading role, a charismatic character, but that's it. Um, yeah. So I didn't learn anything or gain anything. I I just lost time, but it's fine. I got nothing to say about it. Anyway, so that's what really
Anyway.
I really have nothing to say about it. So anyway, another series though. I think again a remake of an original series with Richard Chamberlain back in the day in the 80s is and based on the book is Shogun. I think this is on Disney.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. So Richard used for this
Yeah.
again. I heard a lot of good news, a good word of mouth about this. How did you find Shogun?
That's the reason why I watched it. I mean, so interesting. Yeah, the thing which is interesting, but yeah, everyone has been talking about this online. For people actually I follow on YouTube, etc., for the last 4 or 5 weeks or 6 weeks when it started. Keep saying it's the new Game of Thrones, it's the show of the year, it's the thing that you have to watch, etc. So first of all, I would like to say to anyone who is listening to this podcast that please don't stop saying that. I mean, please stop saying that to all the movies and TV shows released every week. I mean, the greatest show of TV history or whatever, the greatest movie of TV of cinema history. Let's try to be real for once and just just let's try to think before saying things. Let's say, because in the case of Shogun, I mean, it's hilarious that I've seen like 3 different YouTubers that I follow saying best show of the year. I was thinking, but that thing is released in March and April. How can it be the best of the year, guys? Maybe wait December for saying something like that.
Yeah. So far, at least.
So
I
far,
guess, for
exactly,
them.
yeah. And that's all that doesn't mean actually it's a bad show. Actually, it's a really good show. Now I was saying actually it's the Game of Thrones stuff, it's the new standard. Come on. Let's try to be objective, and it's a really good show because it has great acting. It's beautiful. I don't know how much money they spent. I don't think actually it's a huge budget because it doesn't look, but actually it needed a lot of money, and still it looks very good. Uh, I said the acting, the stories, obviously, the intrigue, everything was interesting. That being said, the pacing is terrible. I mean, we talk about Fallout, saying at your Fallout you can binge watch 8 episodes in a row, easy. You cannot. I challenge anyone to watch 8 episodes of Shogun in a row. Honestly, you will fall asleep 10 times because it's not a bad thing. By the way, nothing needs to be actually always crazy pacing, etc. Sometimes it's good to have actually a show that you watch once a week. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. By the way, yeah, the marketing campaigns was saying it looked actually when you look at the Disney Plus trailers or ad etc. It was saying like it looks like Game of Thrones, like fights everywhere, actually samurai, whatever. And okay, not really. Actually, 90% of the show is about uh, discussions of politics and religion um, between Catholics, Protestants, between Japanese council in old Japan of the 16th and 17th century, which for me is interesting because I love history, but it's definitely not what has been sold, by the way. So yeah, in a nutshell, what it's about is, yeah, I said it's set in the 16th, 17th century, I think, of old Japan, and that's why we compare with Game of Thrones because people actually stopped at the first 5 minutes of the show. In the first 5 minutes of the show, it is said that there is kind of the emperor or whatever, the leader of the country who just died, and you have the heir who is too young, so you have too young to rule, and you have a council of 5 regents who are currently in power. And obviously, like in any country in the world, when you have 5 regents and an heir who is not old enough to be in power, these 5 regents are fighting each other to rule and to take control of the country. And that's the story, literally, is that you have all these regents fighting each other. And one of these regents is played by, and I forgot his name, the most famous guy of the show, who also is the executive producer and who has a career in the US, Hiroyuki Sanada. And he's kind of the hero of the story. He's kind of the good regent, the good guy, and you think that if he becomes the new ruler, the country will be in a good path. But if someone else take control, it might be in trouble. And that's the main storyline. You have 2 other storylines that kind of are additional. You have an English ship arriving in Japan, and they're arriving and they are Protestants, and they are actually trying to disrupt and fight the Portuguese Catholics who are controlling the trades in Asia back in the day. They are controlling Macau, for example, etc. Again, it's based on real events, huh? And the English and the crown, the British crown, is trying actually to disrupt this trade, the trade of Asia for the Portuguese. And this English captain of the ship will become friends of the hero of the story. And since the other regions, the bad regions, are supported by the Portuguese Catholics, it creates kind of a conflict that is not only political but also religious. And the first story is kind of a love story between a Japanese girl and this English guy, to sum it up. And as I said, it's a good show. As I said, it's nothing compared to Game of Thrones, in my opinion, because Game of Thrones had 8 seasons to develop characters and became a cult phenomenon. In that case, it's a mini series. There won't be a season 2, and they definitely needed a season 2. But I don't understand the choice of only do a 10-episode show and that's it, because the ending is not a proper ending, by the way. Anyway, that's the choice of the showrunners. But yeah, it's just one of those good shows that will be remembered as a good moment in the history of television, but it's not something that we remember as the greatest of all time.
Yeah, seems surprising. Yeah, it's funny you say about the pacing, but I thought this would be something that would run over a few series, but I'm surprised it's just a mini series. But anyway, well, speaking of, well, as you mentioned, some of the best TV shows or films of the year.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've come to the next one, which is one of the most eagerly anticipated of the year, and it delivered, and then some. And that was Rebel Moon 2, The Scargiver. This is we follow our band of heroes, much like a budget version of the Magnificent Seven, who I think it picks up straight after the first one, because this is Zack Snyder's big magnus opus, and it's Netflix giving them the money for this. It's a thin plot. Also, it's not like a huge thing. It's basically our band of heroes who misfits who come to protect a small little village which is producing crop, which an entire and all their vehicles integrate fuel resources of an entire empire just to make sure they get their bags of crop on time.
Yeah, you really know that the prices of food are like going up all the time. So
it may be set in the far future of next year, who knows? But it is very the more you think about it, the more this doesn't all make sense on an economic level. Alfonso, I may be wrong, but I know you're a long-time fan of
crops.
Of crops.
The
Rebel
since
series.
I saw
But
signs,
did you impressed?
M. Night Shyamalan, and this confirms my love of crops. Yeah, well, I think, what can I say? I love color for once, and Zack Snyder doesn't. So we cannot agree on that. And that yellowish kind of washed up kind of images that this whole sequence has when it comes to the villagers. It's tiring for me. It's just like not visually appealing. It's that or black for like most of the time, and I don't know, bad dialogue, stale dialogue, not really interesting characters, interchangeable characters. When all are saying the same thing about their towns being destroyed by the motherhood. And then I was living well in my non-color world until this guy's came. Man, now I am angry and I want to join the Scaregiver and her gang of misfits or whatever. With my special skill that is, well, not so special. But anyway, there's a robot down with the voice of Anthony Hopkins. I think.
It's a strange. It's kind of like it is a long. It feels like a long film. It's a very thin plot. Strangely, the pacing for 5 minutes, or no, a good 5 to 10 minutes is slow mo. Of course, Snyder is a huge fan of slow mo. He decides to spend it on crops, on actually how you collect crops, which takes at least 5 to 6 minutes. It's not an action sequence. It's just farmers farming, and then it goes straight to okay. Well, obviously it's a slow build up to what's probably a very rapid next sequence, but then it cuts to then a whole table where they just sit around a table and go through their backstories again, which we wouldn't have. I was thinking, you're obviously saving money for the big climax towards the end. Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, it is the rest of it is just a siege, which I can see where they'd save the money. But in effect, it does make it better than the first one for some reason because it's very just. It is what it is. The highlight is Anthony Hopkins again, who voices this pacifist or war robot who decides to follow his conscience, whatever the AI conscience is, and actually join the fight. He's in there for about 2.5 minutes, which is the highlight of the entire film. It's okay. It's better than the first one. If that's
Really?
much, I don't know.
No.
Really?
I think the first one was better.
Really?
I mean, this is mostly just one sequence of like the first one was, it could have been an independent story, like totally, and this is just like, let's rehash, let's bring back, let's let's just prepare people for a second end sequence. That's strange.
It is an end sequence that begins 3/4 into the movie, and then it is one big siege. Like I said, it's not a big.
But
huge
this is only the second half you're talking about, guys, so far.
Yeah.
The first half is probably one of the best moments of cinema history, because the first half, and literally when I'm saying half, is because I checked. I think it's 49 or 50 minutes of the first of the movie is about, farming. I can't say anything else because, and interestingly, and now just to follow up on what you said about you guys about the people around table talking about their backstories. So I checked while you were talking. So they learn at the beginning of the movie, our group of misfits that I don't know their names, but they have 2 days before the bad guys arrive. So this part is hilarious because in 2 days they have to prepare people who never fought a battle in their life. There's like 30 or 40 of them. None of them are soldiers. And in those 2 days, they would do what? They will apparently make them soldiers. They will, as I said, so the plan was to farm. I don't know it in English. So do like on harvest, actually to take all the crops and to put them in front of the people, because it will be used as shields, because they will not be able to fire from orbit in various this thing, because the Empire, let's call it the Empire, will never sacrifice the crops because they are too important. So I have just one question again. I always play that game, is that when they did the table reads before shooting, none of them said, wait, so in this universe, this empire who is so powerful, they cannot survive without this small village on this one planet. They cannot destroy these crops. Without these crops, the whole economy of the whole empire will fall.
Yeah. And none of the villagers are against that plan, that wonderful plan. They don't say like, well, have you thought about it?
Yeah,
we might be risking our lives against these people, and we have a little bit of a no chance. But maybe. I mean, you seem like you're determined, but I guess we just can't give the crops. It's not that important.
I was thinking as one of the villagers, I wanted just to put the hand up and say, can we spend less time harvesting and more time training how to fight? Because we've got 2 days and we spent about half a day and maybe a half on harvesting. Can we learn? Can you just at least show us how to shoot, please? I think I was scared, but they took it in a stride. That's the general who is one of the greatest generals.
Yeah. And again, in all those 2 days, to follow up on what you said, guys, they still have time to have a proper dinner around the table and talk about their backstories, because why not? Why not?
No pressure. Yeah.
People are
No
tired.
pressure.
I guess grain and cereals are very important to a soldier's day. I guess they think it's one of the amazing union rights of we must have cereal. So maybe it is important. Maybe
Yeah, but this galaxy has only one planet. No,
Well, you're gonna get used to your providers. Like you have to change
hard to switch.
stuff. People are lazy.
Yeah, you get people are lazy. People are very lazy. Well, I did almost now that I did almost sit through the credit. Well, it is one of the longest credits I've ever sat through. It because a huge amount of people. I think I can safely report that there was no preview of a part three. So I guess they're still waiting, or they haven't
Yeah.
decided. Apparently, this was going to be a 5-part. Netflix are giving them money for 5 movies.
Six.
6, sorry.
Yeah.
As we speak, increasing. I think I've run out of story already. I don't know where he wants to go, except for you, a twist of the princess is well, any spoilers, but the princess is alive. I think it ran out of story. Always told it in the first film. It's a bit strange, but anyway, I don't know. I haven't had any word of mouth if the next part's coming, but who knows? Right.
Well,
We'll see. Anyway, from that, another film that I'm hearing a little bit of people talking online in this, but I haven't actually heard much about it, and that's Challengers. Both of you have seen this. I don't really know much about this. I have heard people talk about it. I assume that's a good sign. What is Challengers about? Because I am absolutely clueless on this.
yeah, well, it's people are talking about it because it's one of those films that really connects with the online sphere, with people who do TikToks and talk on Twitter and like do fan cams. Because it's like the movie itself is a fan cam of the actors. It's one of those movies that can make stars really. Luca Guadagnino, it's the director of Call Me by Your Name, and yeah. So and he kind of knows how to shoot everyone, so they appear as, let's say, desirable in this film, and also that's why people say that this is a sexy film, and also the music, the score is so cool by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So Zendaya is the producer. She's very smart choosing this role for her, and with these two guys fighting over her, and her character, and the 3 characters are complex. It's a entertaining, a good drama, a good sports drama, and complex characters. It is really it's difficult to find adult movies who are entertaining and are like Hollywood kind of like create Hollywood kind of stars. So it's one of those things that are rare nowadays.
So I'm guessing sports one. Just a quick premise in 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's a tennis drama where 2 guys who are friends fall for the same girl, who is Zendaya. They have different personalities, different approaches. The guys, I mean, the 3 of them actually, because they all are tennis players, and it develops over the course of a decade to decades, 15 years. It jumps between those timelines all the time in the movie, even between 3 timelines, and it talks about ambition, what it takes to become a top player, love, how everything is mixed together sometimes in characters, when they care that much about love or tennis or winning or success. Everything is mixed between those 3 characters, and it makes the movie propel itself very well.
Okay. Well, it's just, as you say, quite rare now we get, something that is aimed at more of an adult demographic. So okay. And that was a cinema release, wasn't it? Just a film on cinemas right now.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Okay, good. Thanks.
I wanted to use one anecdote.
Yes. Yes, no.
I've also said everything, so I will not repeat.
Okay.
But just a funny thing is that actually, that I had that feeling, and I checked. The writer actually confirmed it. For whoever is a fan of tennis, tennis is not the main story of the movie. Obviously, it's just the background of the love triangle.
Mm.
But for whoever who loves tennis in this movie, one of the male character, let's call it Zendaya's husband, it's not a spoiler, and their couple is inspired by Roger Federer couple.
Okay.
Oh, and another anecdote is that the writer of this film is married to the writer-director of Past Lives.
Yeah.
And both films, this film and Past Lives, are about a trio, basically, of characters, two men and one woman.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened in that couple.
Yeah. Well, I won't read too much into that, but anyway. Okay, thanks. So it's worth really catching up on. All right. Next, we have another remake, which has recently come out, of a 1980s TV show, popular one, called The Fall Guy. This time, Ryan Gosling in the title role as, I'm guessing, Colt Seavers, which was the original stuntman played by a big superstar at the time, Lee Majors. This is comes across like a little action comedy based in the world of stuntmen. There is a lot of the actual stunts in this. Is it a good? Seems like an action little comedy. Is Emily Blunt always good, and Ryan Gosling, who's always the go-to guy. It seems just to, as in, I know we're not in the age of stars, but he definitely tends to get bumps on seats with films. So
he can do comedy. They both can do comedy and drama, so that's an asset for any film.
Was it good? You two, or you, Richard, you saw this, and
I joked about with friends of mine saying actually that he pisses me off, Ryan Gosling, because that guy apparently is perfect. So as another man, actually, you have to be jealous. Obviously, he's good looking, so all the girls like him. And
I don't think he's that good looking. I think he has a lot of charisma. So I think it's good that Ryan Gosling.
I have to admit it, by the way.
No. I think I like Ryan Gosling's fame because I think it depends on a lot of charisma, a lot of good acting. I don't think he has typically like Adonis features at all. He's not like Henry Cavill or anything.
Really?
Yeah. I think he does a lot with his way of acting, behaving, being in the world. But if you look at his face, he doesn't have the face of.
I didn't realize actually we're going to switch subject, but imagine Henry Cavill in Crazy Stupid Love. Do you think it would have worked? No, I don't think
so. Because he is very good looking.
because I think that, I mean, I see, but you have a point. I think it's additional. Is that actually that you have to be good looking and have charisma in the both way? You know?
Yeah, but I mean, Crazy Stupid Love is about a guy who gets the girls because he knows how to get the girls. Henry Cavill doesn't have to do anything.
Okay, fair enough. But I'm pretty sure that Ryan Gosling enters a bar, doesn't say anything. Girls will talk to him. But sorry, Jason, we're gonna go back to the Fall Guy.
Let's just say, Alfonso, Ryan Gosling is not your type, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that I appreciate what he does.
I must say, Ryan Gosling. I mean, as a guy, kind of like what is the fuss and maybe whatever. But I guess he does have a quiet presence on screen. He works well on cinema. I'm thinking Drive, where he has very, a very subdued character, but still exuded something that was very watchable. And so there must be something uh, to that, or his screen presence. So, but anyway,
Okay, yeah.
back to the
But
film.
okay, so back to what I was saying,
What
just saying
is
that actually,
how
my
did you
point
find
was that actually, that unfortunately for all of us around the world, is that this guy apparently has all the qualities because he's also extremely funny. And that is true. What Alfonso was saying at first is that, yeah, he also showed it in some SNL sketches back in the day. But I realized, but anyway, and this movie needs a guy like him because obviously he's a stuntman, so he must be in perfect shape. But it's a comedy, more than an action movie. It's a comedy. To sum it up, it's a comedy about a stuntman, that you said, and after 5 minutes, I mean, sorry, I'm going too fast. He's dating at first this assistant director, played by Emily Blunt, but after 5 minutes in the movie, actually, he has an accident. So I will not spoil more. He has an accident, and his career is abruptly ended. Let's go this way. And you see him 18 months later, and he's doing some random job just to pay the bills. And he's got a call because he's got a call by the producer of a new movie, directed this guy. So not assisted, but directed this guy by Emily Blunt, who broke up with him 18 months before when he had the accident. And he's gonna try to fix everything in his life, so get his career back and get his girl back. That's how I would say, nothing more. And it's well, say that is not very funny so far, but it is kind of funny because there's a lot of dialogues, a lot of movie references, by the way, obviously, because most of the movie is set on movie sets, which is funny as well. So yeah, if you like cinema, there's a lot of mise en abîme because obviously they are shooting a movie for, out of the 2 hours of the movie is like an hour and a half of shooting a movie, which is, the story is hilarious. It's kind of almost a pastiche of sci-fi genre, and the main thing I mentioned the comedy, but the main other thing is the romance between Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, and the chemistry is there. It's very well done. I always doubted that Emily Blunt could carry out a big blockbuster. I don't think actually that. I mean, I don't think I always saw her actually as a supporting actress of other movies, but not like a first female. Mary Poppins, for example, maybe is the only thing I can think about where she was like the star of the show, and I'm not sure that it's a huge success, to be honest, this remake. So far, actually, maybe she needed a movie like this, and I really hope that if not in movie theaters, it will have some success at least on streaming, because that's my point. We talked about this before the podcast, Jason. I have a feeling that this movie might have been a better streaming movie than a cinema movie. Because it is a blockbuster, so yeah, it needs some actions, etc. But it's not like CGI all over the screen. And because of the topic, because of how it looks like, people actually will think, okay, I would just wait 6 weeks and watch it on Netflix. So, but it doesn't mean actually that it will not get success. I mean, maybe in 4 or 5 years it will become a cult movie, and that's how I see it. But we'll see.
And become another remake, like it was to begin with. Right, it had to be very meta. Right. Well, finally we got a actually a series that is doing very well apparently. Called The Baby Reindeer. Alfonso, you've seen this?
Yeah, it's doing great numbers, great numbers for Netflix, and it started without publicity. People discovered it, recommended it to other people, and it's currently number one and Netflix globally the #1 series and doing amazing records and numbers, and one of those series that like before, I mean, maybe Bridgerton or Dahmer lately, that comes out and people really like it. I think it is because it is not, it has a dose of reality in it that people really like. It is complex also. It started as a show of a stand-up comedian in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and it was bought, and it was as a series, and the comedian himself, he writes and acts in the series as himself, and it starts with he wants to make it as a stand-up comedian, but it's has to work as a waiter, and this woman comes to the bar and starts chatting him up, and he likes the attention at first, but what he doesn't realize, or he starts realizing it soon enough, is that she is kind of a stalker. So she is, and also the actress is amazing. She's the best one in this show. Everyone is good, but she is really good. And it's a show that has like, I don't know how long are the episodes, but they fly by. They are psychologically complex, and overall the main character, he is the one narrating, but he is not telling you everything, and he reveals more of this story as the show progresses. There is much more to this show than just a stalker story. Also, she is one of the main, the spine of the show, let's say. But there is more to him, to the protagonist, and you in the end you have a full picture of a complex man and what he has been through and what he is doing now. And it's really interesting. It has funny parts, it has very sad parts, some even tough parts to quite tough parts to sit through, and it's really it gives the viewer a dose of a more real, let's say. It's kind of some people compare it with Fleabag first season, in the sense that, like, yeah, it has some everything. Like, this show is also a UK show. It's about a UK comedian. It's also, I think, it both started on the Fringe Festival as a monologue. So, and both are making people talk about their protagonist. So yeah, it's I also recommend it. I think it's one of the top shows of the 2024 for sure. One of the top 3 shows, and it's, for some people it might be at one point or two a tough watch, but I thought it was refreshing in a sense of not something that topics and themes and approach to reality that you don't see in other shows, let's say.
That sounds so. Is it the season 1? Is it? It sounds
I think
like season.
it's like a mini series, I would say. I don't think it's not gonna follow, because it's a self-contained story of what happened in his life, and the stalker is, let's say, the thing that was sold. The thing that's it's well shot. It's fast paced, and it also jumps in timelines. It begins with him going to the police to kind of denounce what is happening with this woman that is following him everywhere. But there's quite a lot more to that. That what it begins with.
All right then. Well, it sounds quite intriguing. And you said a lot of good buzz around this. So intriguing. I can think the last thing that reminds me of that kind of premise is Misery, but
It has. I mean, some people say that as Misery revealed Kathy Bates as a wonderful actress, this show does the same with The Stalker. She can be, well, she can be everything, but she has a sweetness to her. When she looks at the protagonist, you buy into the thing that happens to him, that is, he likes and doesn't like the attention at the same time. It is difficult. It's difficult, and he kind of is. So he has a lot of feelings towards her.
okay. Wow. Thanks for that. Well, that was quite a full month, actually, considering. But thanks again to my regulars. It's Richard, Alfonso. For you at home, we'll cover next month as it comes. But until then, see you soon.
We hope you enjoyed this film and TV review.com episode. Catch the latest film and TV reviews, together with regular episode content from the world of film and TV every week. See you soon. Would you like to reach our film and TV review podcast audience? Do you have a product or service of interest to film and TV home consumers or followers of the entertainment industry? Have a film or show production to publicize? For affordable price plans for all budgets, get in touch and find out about our introductory advertising options. Reach our audience of film and TV viewers and visit our site contact page at filmandtvreview.com, or you can email us at business@filmandtvreview.com. Reach out today.